Okay, I'm just going to get my screen where I want it. And we've got a couple of minutes, so we'll give people a couple of minutes. There was a big list, but I know people find it really difficult sometimes, especially on a Friday afternoon at 4:30 to join me live. But that's okay. If you're registered, you're watching this. If you didn't register, you're not watching this and you've missed out. But never mind. I'm just going to put that over there, I think. No, I'm not. Right then. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. And while we're waiting, I could sing you a song. But you really, really wouldn't want to hear that. What you are going to see actually on some of the slides is a photo of myself, moi, in my bright pink wig I was wearing earlier on today. There is a reason I was wearing it earlier on today. I'd had a bad night, woken up, wasn't feeling really with it, so decided that I needed my alter ego of Anastasia Beaverhausen, who wears a bright pink wig. Yeah, I know, I need help. A lot of it sometimes. But there you go. Okay, now I don't know if my clock is fast or slow. Whatever's going on. I make it 4:28. Have you noticed how I'm a stickler for time? And you're all sitting there now watching the replay of this thinking, get on with it, please. So I am going to get on with it because we have now hit the 4:30 mark. So welcome to today's live webinar. And today we're talking about words. So mean what you say and say what you mean, which might seem like a really ridiculous thing to say, but you would be amazed how many people fall over their own language. And they either use a language that they think they ought to use, or they find themselves struggling to find the words and the voice that is within themselves. So we're going to look at that today and look at understanding why words are so powerful. Let's get my screen share up and let us begin. So let's tell you who I am first in case you don't know me. See, hence purple wig. My name is Bev Hepting and I founded Discover Your Voice. And I founded it because I noticed that so many women in business who run small businesses have to get up and network. They need to tell people what they do and they struggle with it. They absolutely hate the idea of telling people what they do. And this is because it's scary. It's because sometimes you don't really totally understand what it is you do. Sometimes it's just because this is a completely new environment for you all. You know, we all start businesses and suddenly you're having to learn how to run a business. You're having to learn the technology. You've got to stand up and speak. It's scary stuff. So I just set up Discover Your Voice to help and inspire you women who run small businesses to stand up and speak with confidence and to stand out from the crowd. I am also a mum. I'm a nan. I am a speaker. I coach. I'm a dog owner. I'm a wife. But most important, I am me. And I want to get that across to you all today, that this is about you being you. And in order to speak with confidence and use the right language, you have to really just be yourself. You can't do what everybody else wants you to do. The magic of words. We take words for granted. We take our language for granted. How many times have you or done it yourself or other people have done it to you when they've hurled words at you and then said, well, I didn't mean it. The problem with words is it doesn't matter whether you meant it or not. When someone hears certain words, it creates a reaction. And sometimes the reaction can be really, really strong to something quite simple. And sometimes it won't have any real reaction at all. But words all have meanings. Never, never underestimate the power of the words you use. You need to use words with care. I say this to my children, and I'm sure that most of you say it to your kids if you have them, or to friends. You know, be careful what you say. You can hurt people without even realizing you've hurt them. Words can hurt as much as they can heal. Telling someone you love them is lovely. Telling someone you hate them is horrible. And you may not mean either one, but the recipient, the person who is hearing it, will react to the words. Words make up our emotional response to things because it is the only way we can respond to the emotional feeling within us. And it's why sometimes when everything is so emotional or so scary, you are lost for words. So I want you to really, really think about that and get that inside your head. That words are important. The words you say, the words you write are important to you in your business. And I want you to think about this. The reason you need to understand what words to use is because certain words will connect with your audience and certain words won't. I always use this analogy. If you're a vegan trying to convert a room full of butchers who make a living out of selling meat, you are going to have to really think about the words you would use in order to convert those butchers. And saying things like eating meat is cruel, the emotional response from a butcher is more likely to be, it may be, but it's my living and I'm not listening to any more of this. Okay. The words you use will also tell people something about you. They will say whether you have a flowery, upbeat, positive personality, whether you're academic, very structured, whether you think about the way you say things or whether you just blurt stuff out. The words become part of your brand. And I've talked a lot about when you stand up to speak, you are speaking as part of your brand. Well, the words you use are part of your brand. Very important you think about that. When we're talking to people, people hear emotionally. When they read stuff, they read intellectually. So when you say something to someone, they are going to react in an emotional way, good or bad. We react to an emotional response on hearing that word or that phrase. And our emotional responses are always based on what has happened to us in the past. All our knowledge and experience and all of those things we understand are based on all of that stuff that happens in our head. And it is so important that you understand that bit. I keep saying it's so important because I really, really want you to understand that the words you use will have an automatic emotional response on the listener. And that emotional response will be based on their past knowledge and experience and view of the world. So you have to understand who it is you're talking to. Now, I know this in terms of somebody, a friend of mine, and a friend of mine who can't have children. And I remember being out with her once. We were out with a crowd, you know, having one of those sort of firm do's you have. You're all sat around the table. And the whole thing about children came up. And somebody around the table, I couldn't tell you who it was, just happened to say, well, I think, people that don't have children are selfish. Immediately, my friend who can't have children, emotional response, well, after I told her to put the plate of spaghetti down and not chuck it in her face, was to get incredibly angry and not want to listen to another word this woman said. Because the response for her was so personal. And I know someone around the table said to her, well, that's not totally true. What about people who can't have children? And it all got sorted and she explained what she meant. But the damage had been done. So when you are speaking to people, when you are talking about you know, the things you do, your skills, all of those things, you have to bear in mind who it is you are talking to and what response you want to get back. I hope that made sense, because I struggled there. And I hope you know, I struggled there to find the words to what I meant by that. And I'm hoping that'll make a little bit more sense as I go along. It's one of those occasions when I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but couldn't quite phrase it in the way that I wanted to. So I'm going to come back to that one. But that happens a lot when you're speaking live, a lot. And very rarely do I suddenly have my eyes go up in the air going, I don't know how to finish this off, but I will come back to it. And it is linked to this audience. Because at the end of the day, for you, it's business. It's about business. And your job when you're speaking is in order to get more business. And when it is different when you're talking to your friends in the pub. So your audience, you're not going to know what that response is necessarily, unless you are really experienced and you're able to pick up those telltale signs that ripple through an audience when certain things create a response. So the emotional words that you are going to use, now they're going to be different depending on the audience you're talking to. For instance, if you're talking to women with low self-esteem, if one of the packages you offer or the thing you do is working with women who have very low self-esteem and building their confidence, the emotional words you use for them are going to be completely different to the words you would use if you were talking to men who are very comfortable in their own skin. Men who are quite confident with what they do, and maybe what you sell or you create products for men to use in a beauty regime. And a lot of men today of a certain age, I have to say, are quite comfortable in that. And the emotional words you would use in that respect would be more around, you know, keeping your skin nice, looking well, all of those things that they react to. But that is completely different to you were talking to a bunch of men, maybe over 70, who had been in the army and thought a completely different thing when you start talking about looking nice and wearing moisturizer. So you do have to know the audience you're talking to. And I say this every time I do any type of coaching or training. If you're going to speak with confidence, knowing who you're speaking to is something that is vital in your toolkit, because when you know who you're talking to, life gets a lot easier. Career-minded people are going to have a different emotional response to people that actually want to give up work. And creative people are going to have a completely different response to words than professionals in the area of solicitors or accountants who have a very structured, it's very black and white. So in order for you to understand the language you need to use, in order for you to mean the words you are going to use and use words that you mean, you have to know who it is you are talking to. Now, when you're marketing, and this has always been a challenge for me, in marketing, we talk about the ideal client, and I struggled with this for a long, long time, the ideal client. And I came up with the idea that actually there's an ideal client for every different sort of point in life. That's a whole other webinar. But when you're talking to people, think along the same lines. Think about who it is you want to work with within that audience. So if you've got a mixed audience and they come from all sorts of backgrounds and industries, your talk should be around and be aimed at the people you want to convert. So the women with low self-esteem in that audience, the men who are comfortable, the career-minded, creative, whoever they are. You can't talk to everybody because everybody does not have the same responses. And because we're talking about generalized responses, you have to really focus and aim your talk to your ideal client, because that means you're using the words that resonate with you, your magic words, the words that you mean, not the words you think people want to hear. And when you understand about the words you mean, you become more confident in talking to the people you want to work with. So let's think about these words that you need. And the first thing I want you to really think about is think about the top 5 words that you use all the time. And that may be in business, it may be in general chat. Mine are, I'm always talking about inspiring women, women who inspire me. I love to be inspired and I love to inspire. Amazing women. I talk about amazing all the time. I type amazing all the time. Amazing women. Authentic is a word I use because when I talk about coaching people to speak, coaching women to speak, I talk about your authentic voice. And I talk to other people about being authentic. So authentic is a word I use. Magical and love, I scatter like salt and pepper all over the place. I love the idea of a magical life and I love to love. So for me, they are my 5 top words and they are sprinkled everywhere. Inspiring, amazing, authentic, magical and love. And I use these words because they come from my heart and soul. They're a part of who I am. I resonate with those words and I want to resonate with ladies or men or kids or anyone really who gets those words, who wants to be inspired, who wants to be amazing, someone who wants to be truly authentic and magical and love what they do. I don't use words like strategy and formula and reflect. I never use those words in my everyday language. I don't use them in my business because strategy for me is a piece of paper with lots of bright coloured things on it and a formula. And reflect, I do reflect, I'm having to learn, that's part of my business practice, but it's not something, I'm a forward thinker, and reflect always seems to me to be a backward thing. So when people say to me, reflect, immediately I go, I don't want to. I go into sulky child mode, don't want to. So when people talk to me and coach me, if they're using words like strategy and formula and reflect, I'm completely turned off. I don't want to know. It leaves me cold. But if people talk to me about, let's inspire you to write a business plan and you can use colour and it's going to be amazing, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah. And I get excited. So you need to figure out what your top 5 words are and work from there. It's not as easy as you think. We talk a lot. We use a lot of words every day. I have a lovely, lovely lady called Nikki who always, everything is amazing. Every other word is amazing. And building that into the way she speaks to other people, people recognize Nikki for the way she says amazing. Good stuff. It's very powerful stuff if you really get to work with it. What sort of clients do you work with? Really think about this. What sort of clients do you want to work with? I work predominantly with women in small business. That's my core group of people I work with. I can work with anyone. I can work with them whether they are terrified and have never spoken in public before, up to the people who want to do TED Talks. But predominantly, I work with business women. So when I talk to the businesswoman who is working at the kitchen table. I talk about talking at networking groups. I talk about don't have to be a perfect speaker. I use words that aren't going to terrify the business women I talk to. Do you work with creative people or academic people? The language is going to be different. And you may find that very easy, but I have actually worked with some very academic, sort of in the professional professions, if that's what you call it, like accountants and solicitors and things, who love to work with creatives, who love to work with people who do holistic industries, spiritual industries, because they are really engaging with that. And they have struggled to change the language that still means the same, but the magic words that really engage with those people who do creative and holistic things. So think about it. Think about, do you work with mothers? Do you work with dads? Think about the clients you work with or you really want to work with, because that's where you need to start when you start thinking about your magic words and saying what you mean. And I'm going to use the example of mums because I am a mum and a nan, as you've noticed from the beginning. So when you're talking to a group of mums, there are going to be certain words that they react to. Things like family. Family is very, especially if they've got young kids, very important. Time, there's never enough of it. Tired, they're always tired. The be you, yeah, be yourself, have time for you is really important, because let's face it, as mothers, we often lose our own identity. Quick and easy. Their life's full up with everything. Quick and easy are words that they could go, oh, it's quick. That's okay. I can do that. It's going to be easy. Great. Because I've got enough got one baby in one arm. The teenager's gone off. So you've got to use words that their ears prick up and the brain goes, I'm listening. I want to hear about family. I want to hear about having more time. I want to know how to be less tired. Oh, please tell me how I can be me. It has to be quick and it has to be easy. Now, the negative words for mums, if you think about this, is you need to put the time in. What time? Going to turn them off. Work. Just that word, work. Really think about why work is a negative word for a mum. One, because we all know as mums, we do work. We work bloody hard, and we could be doing a job and being a mum. So it's not that we don't work. However, stay-at-home mums are often tarred with that brush that they don't work. So work for most mums, and let me just put in here, this is generalizing. It is generalization, because obviously individuals are different. But generally, the word work for a mum, networking. Where's she going to find the time to do all that networking? And when you talk about alone working with mums, they're alone a lot of the time with just the kids. They want to meet other mums. So when you're working with mums, there's a difference between the words that make them go, oh, yes, please, please help me. You solve my problem, to, God, no, you're just going to make my problem worse. Don't want to know. And hopefully you're beginning to understand now that distinction between the two things. Now, as a coach or a speaker and a coach in public speaking, these are the words I try to avoid, because I work with women in small businesses, predominantly. Public speaking. You would be amazed how many people head for the hills if I turn around and say, I can coach you to be a public speaker. If I say speak in public, that's okay, because that means small groups. Public speaking means big groups of people, big stage, ooh, far too scary. Large audience, no, no, no. Would never tell any businesswoman I work with that they are going to be talking to a large audience. It's hard enough for them to get up and talk to the 8 people around the networking table. Never, never, never. I never say never be scared. Never. One, because it's untrue, because even the best speakers, the best of us, get nervous at times. But what is the point in telling someone that they'll never be scared when they're terrified? Because the first response is going to be, yes, I will be. Yes, I can. I'm scared. That's not going to change. And telling them anyone can do it, immediately the brain goes, I can't do it. And you've lost them. Absolutely lost them. So I don't use those words because I can't mean those words. And I'm going to lose my audience if I say those words. The next bit's all up to you. And those of you that, have got the recording in, and you'll all get a copy of this recording, is think about the words you should be avoiding. For instance, lady who runs the Love, I never get it right, Love, Live, Laugh clubs. We were talking, I was doing a session with her, and she was saying that when she talks to people, she talks about going to one of her clubs and socializing. I hate socializing. And I said to her, oh, no, because socializing is a doing word. It meant in my head, I had to go and to be social. And I find that quite difficult at times. So when she changed the wording to a social atmosphere, I'm in. Oh, that sounds friendly. That sounds fun. So sometimes it's just about changing the connotation of words. Things like, I will make you. People don't want to be made. I will help you is nice. That's side by side. I will guide you. People like that because they feel like you're going to be there holding them behind and helping them on the way. You will, depending on your audience, can be scary because they feel alone. When you say to a group of people, you will be brilliant or whatever it is you're asking them to do, be aware that for some people, they'll just go, no, I won't, because they won't believe you. If you say something like, I'm going to guide and help you until you are able to, that's a partnership. And that's really what you mean, because that's what you're going to do. You're not going to wave a magic wand and this person's suddenly going to be able to do whatever it is. So think about how you get people onto that journey. If they are really, 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 really shy and have very little self-confidence, saying to them, come and meet a like-minded group of people, the word group has suddenly left them feeling, ugh. But if you say to them, come with me and meet people who have this, it's safer. Hope that's making sense. Words. So these are some of the emotional words. What I've done at this last bit is there's some emotional words for you to have a look at, phrases that imply scarcity, 28 words and phrases that make you feel safe. But, and this is the thing you have to remember, they only will make people feel safe or create an emotion or make them do something if it's the right words for that audience. One of the favorites for me is, I'm a bugger at this, you know, shiny object syndrome, and somebody offers me this great deal online and I'm listening to the video and it's, oh, you know, got to get it now, got to do this, got to get, and I have signed up before I can even, you know, and then I end up cancelling 2 days later because I can't afford this. And it's interesting because they've hooked me, because whatever it is they're offering, emotionally, they've hooked me in. Now, my bank often sends me messages going, please join us to learn about how to budget this and budget that and press this button and do it today. Not going to happen, because they've used words like budget, they've used words like today, and they've used words like, you know, learn. So I hope that has given you some insight into how words can change the way people think when you're speaking to them. It can change the way people react when you're talking to them. Now, I do a lot around words. When I do my elevator pitch with people, I do a lot. So if you want to get more information on this or you want to hear more, go to the website, contact me any way you like, follow me on Facebook, all the rest of them. I very rarely do upsells on my webinars. I do occasionally, but I very rarely do upsells. But there are, if you want to learn more about that, or you want to go through this, the way your talks, your speeches with me to look at the words you are using, then we can do that. Hello, Hazel. Food for thought, yeah. So just think about that. It is really interesting that you think about that. There is a lot more to this, because obviously it is about the people you are working with. All of these tend to be general, but if you want to contact me and go through this around what you offer, your client group, and the sorts of words that would be better for you to use, then just shout and I am your girl. But from now, I want to say goodbye. Have a great weekend. And I hope to see you all again on next month's live webinar, of which I haven't decided the title yet. So goodbye and have fun. Bye.